This week, the Washington Commanders travel to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City to take on the reigning AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Primetime. Do the Commanders have a miracle on Monday night that nobody sees coming? We're going to be talking about it here on the Commanders Report here on this week's preview. But our Week 8 watch party will be coming up on Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We have the largest Commanders watch parties anywhere on the YouTube platform. Got over an hour of pregame coverage for you guys, followed by live play-by-play and, of course, a live analysis of the game. Then we'll have extensive postgame coverage for you guys, whether the Commanders win and they pull off the upset or they lose like most expect them to. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to be here with you guys throughout this entire 2025 journey for the Washington Commanders, whether they turn things around here and they can have a nice little stretch here, or whether the season really falls apart over the next few weeks. We're going to be covering every second of it here on this channel, so make sure you click that subscribe button if you're a real one. All right, so now let's get into this matchup here. The 3-4 Washington Commanders travel to Arrowhead Stadium for Monday Night Primetime against the 4-3 Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I think some people consider Kansas City to be the best team in the league, even though they're actually third in their own division right now, but they just got Rashee Rice back. They got Xavier Worthy back a couple weeks ago. They're starting to get healthy in Kansas City, and they have had some very impressive wins over the last few weeks, including over the Detroit Lions a couple weeks ago, where they looked really, really impressive. And now they have Rashee Rice, their number one wide receiver. Talking about some injury stuff when it comes to the Washington Commanders. For this game in particular, Jaden Daniels will be out. So that is a big player. That is your best player on the entire team that will be out for yet another game this season. But Marcus Mariota will be back. Back in there, and he's got some good tape as his time as a Washington Commander, and he's even had some good time out there as the starting quarterback this season. And the good news is it looks like Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel are going to be back to help him out. All right, like Terry McLaurin, as we know, when he's healthy and when he's really fully ingratiated into this offense, he's one of the more dynamic receiver threats in the entire game. And then you got Deebo Samuel, who's your gadget piece, a very important piece to Cliff Kingsbury's offensive game plan. So to get those two guys back, you could really tell that this passing attack missed them last week versus the Dallas Cowboys. So getting those two guys back should help Marcus Mariota hopefully put up some Mariota magic here this weekend, or I should say on Monday night. Then we get to Sam Cosmi, and this is one to keep your eye on, all right? At the time of me recording this video, he has not practiced so far this week. He has a back issue, which is obviously different than the knee injury that he was fighting back from at the early portion of the season. So hopefully Cosmi's all right. If he can't go, expect Andrew Wiley to reassert his starting position at right guard if Cosmi is unable to give it a go. But now let's shift our focus to the Kansas City Chiefs, and let's start with their coaching and scheme breakdown. Andy Reid, one of the longest tenured head coaches in the National Football League, over 270 wins as an NFL head coach, multiple time Super Bowl champion, obviously, one of the best win percentages in the league as well, just very consistently coaches very successful football teams. And the reason for that is he's one of the best offensive play callers in football. He still calls the plays there in Kansas City. They run a modern pro spread offense that focuses on getting the ball out quickly out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. And then also on defense, Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best in premier blitz, heavy blitz and heavy man coverage defensive coordinators in the league. 4-2 bump and run is what they like to run. A lot of press. They will throw in zone blitz looks and stuff like that. Spags will throw a lot at Marcus Mariota on Monday, as he does every single week against every single opponent that they play. But you take a look here at the offensive roster for the Kansas City Chiefs. You've got Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback spot. Then Jalen Moore is their left tackle. Josh Simmons, their usual starting left tackle, is out right now. Kingsley Suamataia, I hope I'm saying that right there. He's their starting left guard. He's been settling in. He's a second-year player. He's been playing pretty well for them. Then you got Creed Humphrey, one of the best, if not the best center in the National Football League. Trey Smith is dealing with an injury right now. He's questionable, but he is their starter right now. And then Juwan Taylor's their starting right tackle. And then they finally got healthy at the wide receiver position over the last few weeks. Rashee Rice, played his first game of the season last week against Las Vegas. Xavier Worthy's been back for a couple weeks now after getting injured early on in the season. Hollywood Brown has had a pretty decent season for them this year, and they still got guys like Tyquan Thornton and Juju Smith-Schuster waiting in the wings. So they got a lot of weapons here in Kansas City, and that also includes Travis Kelce. How could I forget about Kelce? Still a really good kind of zone, kind of possession type tight end. Not the dynamic threat that he used to be, but still a good piece with excellent chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. And then Isaiah Pacheco is their starting running back. Then you get to the defensive side of the ball. They will have 4 down fronts more often than not. They got Mike Dana and George Karlaftis as their starting defensive ends. Then Chris Jones and Derek Nottie are going to be their starting defensive tackles. Honestly, they're pretty light on the interior of the defensive line heading into this week. And then Charles Omenihu is their pass rush specialist that comes in, usually for Mike Dana in pass rushing situations. So keep your eye on Omenihu coming in on third downs. Then at the off-ball linebacker position, they usually play nickel, so only 2 off-ball linebackers, but they rotate these guys quite frequently. Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, and Leo Chanel. All these guys play quite a bit, and Nick Bolton is certainly the leader in this group. Then you get to the secondary, Trent McDuffie, one of the premier cornerback talents in the league. You'll see him a lot in the slot in this game, but he's playing more outside corner this year. Then you got Jalen Watson at CB2. Shamari Connor has been there, but mostly their nickel backer, but they have been throwing in rookie Noel Williams quite a bit as well. And then Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks are their starting safety duo. So still to come here on the Commanders Report preview, keys to victory versus the Chiefs, my scouting report on Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, and my Week 8 score prediction for Monday Night Football coming up here in Week 8. But before we get into the rest of today's show, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Prize Picks. And you and I, we both make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Football season is finally here, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in all season long. Prize Picks is super simple to play. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature from PrizePicks that I absolutely adore is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. So for Thursday Night Football here tonight, probably watching this during Thursday Night Football, taking the less on Justin Herbert's passing yards, the more on Justin Jefferson receiving yards, and the more on Kamani Vidal's rushing yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on the PrizePicks app today. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. First key to victory for the Commanders this week is to contain Kansas City's dynamic passing attack. Not only do they have Patrick Mahomes, who you could argue is the best quarterback in the National Football League and has been for a very long time, and not only do you have Andy Reid, who's one of, if not the best offensive play caller in the league, but they also have a number of dynamic weapons that they can use for a bunch of different things. If you play zone against them, they're going to target Kelce in the soft spots. If you want to play kind of deep coverage to take away their speedier receivers down the field, they're going to throw it to Rashee Rice, and he's going to be able to run after the catch. If you want to take away the underneath stuff to Kelce and Rice, they're going to throw it deep to Tyquan Thornton and to Hollywood Brown. So there's a lot of different things that they can do, and because of that, especially because the Commanders' secondary has been really struggling as of late and really all season, if we're being honest, that's going to be much easier said than done. You got to really do a good job winning the line of scrimmage, getting after Patrick Mahomes, because plain and simply, guys, I still have Patrick as the number one quarterback in the entire league. He's been playing MVP caliber football this year. He's really carried not only that team, not only that offense, but that entire team this year, in my opinion. The arm talent is obviously unbelievable. The mental processing to get the ball out fast is really good. Pocket presence is as good as I've ever seen. Same thing with the playmaking instincts. He's an underrated rusher of the football too. And then in the close moments when you really got to have a play in the fourth quarter, there's nobody in the game that's better than Patrick Mahomes at finding those plays to win ball games when it gets tight in the fourth. Now, he will be a little bit inconsistent with his accuracy at times. His mechanics will get away from him. For every incredible throw that he makes off platform, he'll make a bad, accuracy throw with poor mechanics and poor footwork and stuff like that. But he certainly makes up for it with all the plays that he makes in this offense. And for me, guys, if you're the Commanders, you got to get faster on defense because there's a lot of speed on this Kansas City offense, especially at the receiver position. Xavier Worthy is one of the fastest, if not the fastest receiver in the game today. Hollywood Brown is also no slouch. He can run as well. They got a lot of speed on this team, and Rashee Rice can certainly run as well at his size. So if you're the Washington Commanders, I don't think it's going to work to just put Bobby Wagner out there every single play again and Marshawn Lattimore out there every single play again. You guys know, if you've been watching our show for the last week or so, that I really like Jordan Magee. I think he's shown some really good things over the last several weeks since he's been getting a little bit more playing time, and I think he should be, the full-time green dot. I really do. I think Bobby Wagner's time in this league is done, and I think Jordan Magee's with his ability to make open field tackles, with his ability to be really good in pass coverage. He's really athletic and fast. I think that he's the future at the linebacker position here in Washington, and the sooner that you get him on the field, the better. So if I'm the Washington Commanders, I'm sitting down Marshawn Lattimore and Bobby Wagner. Unfortunately, I don't think Dan Quinn is going to do that. I think they'll continue to bang their head against the wall here, and it's probably not going to be pretty versus Mahomes in this speedy and dynamic Kansas City passing attack. But, if you want any chance to win this game, guys, I think you probably got to win the line of scrimmage on both sides, because I think Kansas City's going to have the advantage on the perimeter, especially on offense. So if you can win the line of scrimmage, if you can get after Mahomes and, Daron Payne and Javon Kinlaw and Von Miller and Frankie Luvu and all these guys can get after the quarterback and get some quick pressures on Mahomes, that is something that could absolutely affect this football game, and frankly, I think it needs to happen. And we've seen this unit do it, and frankly, that's kind of where Kansas City's vulnerable, is in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So if Washington can control the line of scrimmage on both sides, that's going to give them an opportunity to compete on both sides of the football. Now, over the last few weeks, they haven't been able to win either side of the offensive line battle or either side of the line of scrimmage battle. And frankly, against not great teams, Chicago, Dallas, those are teams that you should win the line of scrimmage battle against, and they haven't for 2 straight weeks. So hopefully they can have that bounce back week and show us some of the stuff that they showed us earlier on in the year when this unit, both offensive and defensive lines, were playing much better than they are right now. But then something that I would do with the Dorrance Armstrong injury is I would play Frankie Luvu at edge rusher full time. And this could be an opportunity to get Jordan Magee on the field a bit more, okay? Because I think he's better as an open field tackler than Luvu is. I think he's better in pass coverage than Luvu is. But Luvu is a really good pass rusher, and he's really crafty, and he's very disruptive, and he's a great cleanup player as a spy as well. So you can use him in those ways. But frankly, he's been lost in pass coverage all season long. It's never really been his strong suit, and he's really taken a big step backwards in terms of open field tackling this year. So I would just lean into the strengths of Frankie Luvu, especially with all the injuries you have on the defensive end position in this defense, and just say, all right, Frankie, you're going to be one of our starting defensive ends moving forward. And I think that's a good way to get after Mahomes in this game. But then on offense, you have to shorten the game, because I do think that if you allow Kansas City to have a lot of possessions and all this different stuff, they're going to score a lot of points, just like Dallas did. But if you shorten the game, if you can pound the rock, if you can keep that clock moving throughout the game, that's going to shorten the game. That's going to shorten the amount of opportunities Kansas City has. And hey, if you can force a turnover, if you can some things go your way, hey, you could be sitting there in the fourth quarter saying, we got a shot to win this football game, guys. So I think Bill Krosky-Merritt, Jeremy McNichols, these guys are going to be very, very important. And obviously the offensive line and the blocking tight ends are going to have to do a good job creating rushing lanes for Double Deuce. And hopefully they can pound the rock and pay the bill this week. Then we get to Marcus Mariota, and, we need a little bit of Mariota magic this week to compete for sure. Mariota, we've seen him play very well in this offense. We know that he has a firm grasp of it, and it should really help to have Debo and Terry back in the lineup. Both Terry and Debo were full participants in practice on Thursday when I'm recording this video, and to have those two guys back, Terry's your route runner and your deep threat, great hands guy, and then you got Debo as your gadget. And then, maybe you put Robbie Chosen out there as your number 3 guy. I really liked what I saw from Robbie last week against Dallas. You got Zach Ertz as your kind of possession, type of zone kind of guy at tight end. Marcus can certainly can deal with these kinds of weapons. He did it last year. He was very successful with most of these guys. Obviously, they didn't have Debo last year, but if anything, that should help him out. So the biggest concern that I have for Marcus this week, though, is he's going up against a very complex and difficult defensive scheme to go up against. Spags is really, really good at, especially sending corner blitzes that can really spook quarterbacks. You don't see a ton of teams play as many cat blitzes is what they're called, especially when, Kansas City faces teams that play a lot of condensed sets, and Washington plays a lot of those. So I expect to see a lot of those cat blitzes, those outside cornerback blitzes from Spags this week. I just hope that Marcus Mariota is ready for that mental workload, get that ball out fast, get it out accurately, get it to his playmakers out in space, and hopefully he can deliver some magic for us on Monday night. But then just some general keys to victory here. Number one, play the cleaner game. You cannot, lose the turnover battle or the penalty battle or, do all these things and make these mental mistakes that we've seen the Commanders make all season long and expect to win versus Kansas City. You're going to have to play a really clean game. You're going to have to limit penalties. You're going to have to limit turnovers, and then you're going to have to force mistakes out of Kansas City to keep yourselves in this ball game. And then the final key to victory for me is to make the play late. If you find yourself in the fourth quarter and it's close, Marcus Mariota, Bill Krosky-Merritt, somebody on defense, find a way to make a play. Now, this is very difficult, specifically against Kansas City, because they've played in a lot of close games and they've been in close playoff games, and nothing rattles Mahomes and Reed and frankly Spags' defense. So this is one of the tougher teams to play in a close ball game, especially in Arrowhead Stadium. So I'm going to go with a slightly competitive effort for the Commanders, but multiple scores loss. I'm going to go 33-23. I think Marcus and the offense will show some good things, but at the end of the day, I think that Marcus will get confused at times, and that will kill some drives against Spags' kind of creative blitz looks. And then, frankly, I just don't see this defense, as long as they keep Bobby Wagner and they keep Marshawn Lattimore in the starting lineup, I just don't see this defense getting a lot better. And I hate to say that, but Sainristil's been underwhelming. As long as he's in the slot, I think he's going to continue to struggle. Quan Martin's going to continue to struggle. And this passing attack from Kansas City is about as good as you get in the league. Plus, you're on the road, which makes things tougher. So I'm not expecting a win this week, guys. But if you can get a win against Kansas City in their building, that would be a huge bounce-back victory for this Commanders team. And we're talking about this team with potentially Jaden Daniels coming back for Sunday Night Football at home versus Seattle. We're talking about this team as a team that could potentially get themselves back in the playoff discussion this season. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comments section. Predict the score of Commanders versus Chiefs down there in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts on this week's matchup versus the former AFC champs and the reigning AFC champs. But that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report preview. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week for this week's preview. We'll have post-game reaction after the game is over as well in a video here on the channel. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button. Join us for our live watch party 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, and then also for our post-game coverage after that game as well.